Well, good morning. We are coming to you this morning from the kitchens of Mary Porter, where is produced her beautiful peach chutney, the perfect accompaniment to enhance the flavor of all your family's meals. Those stubborn stains on bathroom floor and walls, no match for peach chutney. And by the way, yard waste and weeds can be eradicated completely by a liberal application of this peach chutney. So pick up a bottle at your local grocer. You'll find it displayed attractively in the soap and detergent section. Mary's right here. It's awful. I need a full-time job. There's no doubt about it. I need a full-time job. I have way too much time on my hands. I've got my Harvard shirt because I went to Harvard one summer, and it gives me the right to wear the shirt. And by the way, when I'm out in the yard, neighbors have a great deal of respect. Okay, so here we are talking about happiness. And over 1 million years ago, scientists tell us the brain developed the amygdala. I think that's how you say it, amygdala. It's the Greek word for almond, so it's an almond-shaped development of the brain, and it basically is the storage place for negative memories. It's a warning system, actually, they say, for the brain. Don't put your hand on that red hot stove again. That's the memory function of the amygdala, which tells you to be careful. It is the thing that preserved the well-being of early human forms as they were walking through the savannah and saw the savannah grass rustle. They stopped and waited to see if it was a tiger. I think I've shared with you at some point about the Leakeys when they were doing their archaeology in Central Africa. The Leakeys discovered these footprints in the ground. They were petrified, of course, and there was a hominid form, larger feet, bipeds. There was next to him, there were smaller feet, and then there were two sets of very small feet. So it looked like it was a little group of four moving along, a little family, who would know. And in the petrified footprints, there is a movement of the second figure, a turning back. And Leakey always talked about how magnificent the past was, how funny it was, how mysterious it was, and he wondered what she was turning for. Was it, oh, hurry up, we're going to be late? Or did she hear something that caused her anxiety and fear? The storage facility for negative memories. Billy Buckner, 22-year-old Major League career, one of the finest baseball players in Major League history, played for 6 teams. He had a lifetime batting average of .289. He had 174 home runs, 2,714 hits, and had a fielding average of .998. A remarkable player over a remarkable career, and he's remembered for one thing and one thing only. Those statistics are all eclipsed by an error in the 10th inning of the 1986 World Series when he was playing first base for the Red Sox against the New York Mets, when Mookie Wilson hit a little routine ground ball to Buckner at first base. Touching the base would have ended the World Series, would have ended it for the Red Sox, and it went through his legs into right field. He had spent the rest of his life being mocked sometimes raged against, but he took it all with graciousness. But he will be remembered for an error, eclipsing a magnificent career. Traumatic memories are stored. We've talked about that. Stored beneath the conscious. I think Freud, I don't know much about all this. I've talked to a cerebral scientist who sometimes helps me work my way through this stuff. I think Sigmund Freud saw it as a black box from which you could extract negative memories, traumatic events through hypnosis and whatever. But I understand today that it's that science is less in vogue. That negative events remain. Scars just remain. They don't go away. They stay there forever. But they can be overcome. And I've been writing a little bit about this on those little Facebook blogs, that you can overcome negative things by positive additions to your life. Physical health is known when you feel good. People say, how do you feel? I feel fine. Yeah, I have no headache. No, you're symptom free. But mental health is measured by happiness. And the happier you are, the healthier you are. And a friend of mine did say that there were 3 things she thought were the accompaniments of therapy and therapeutic healing. 1, something that has nothing to do with therapy. Some positive event of your life that has nothing to do with what you're doing with the therapist. 2, a very positive rapport with the therapist, which is an emotional connection with the therapist, not so much with the method, but with the person. And lastly, just something positive, love and friendship that appear in your life, and that's how you heal. And you heal over time, and I believe that's true. The wounds are always present. They're never absent. I think, if you're a Christian, you might know that after the Easter appearance in Jesus, he comes scarred, and they have to touch the scars. If he's risen from the dead, he's healed, but he's scarred. And the amygdala is the warning system which tells us, whoa, but also can haunt us unless we overcome its message with some positive. And therefore it talks about, therapists may talk about positive reinforcement. Alcoholics Anonymous talks about thinking solution. It doesn't do any good. We saw last week about the 4 Ds. What were they? I hope I can remember. Discovery, dreaming, design, and development. The way you put positive things into action. And that quarter second we spoke of so many months ago is a moment when the amygdala and the negative can reside. And if it does reside there, you're going to have a harder time being happy. You're going to erupt in anger. You're going to erupt in rage. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel unhappiness. All of those things, because that's where your impulse is born. And cleansing that, overcoming what might be there, placing positive things in that quarter second of response, which we all have. Well, the negative assessment, I was thinking about all this today. I have a lot of time on my hands, and I'm reminiscing about the worst things that ever happened, all of which have turned out to be good. But the worst thing that ever happened probably was Mary's attack on the 7th of June, 2007. We just celebrated a birthday, a live day celebration for that. We'll do it every year. Mary would not go back into the house. Well understood. She was wounded. She was sore. She could not sleep. She was worried, anxious, apprehensive, afraid. all our money was in our home on Hidden Acres Drive in DeKalb County. We had bought that house for, I think, $106,000. And we thought we had a lot of money in equity. And then the housing market fell. We never went underwater. That wasn't it. But we did take a lot of money out of that. I think we took $7,000 or $9,000 out of that house equity. They were tough times. And anxiety-ridden times. And something happened to me personally and to Mary at the same time. Because I've said to you a couple times in these little essays or podcasts brought to you by Mary Porter's all-purpose peach chutney, that we store negative things and we store negative comments. I noticed that the grandchildren are now watching Charlie Brown. They moved up into Charlie Brown, and they make a lot of self-deprecating comments because Charlie Brown does. Oh, I'm just dumb. It's interesting to see that. It's dated, of course. It came in the 60s. But there's a lot of self-deprecating conversation in Charlie Brown that they pick up as a way of responding to their own issues, and the little one may fail at something or not be frustrated, and I hear them say, "Oh, I'm just dumb." It's a way that Charlie Brown marshaled sympathy, but it's really, really interesting to see how that happens. At any rate, a good friend who's an attorney came to us. Mary had 2 bouts with death. The event itself, and then some serious blood clots that appeared 2 weeks later. I mean, we escaped through the eye of the needle. We were the luckiest people on earth. That she is well and happy. It's amazing. And a friend who was an attorney, a corporate attorney, a good friend, a lovely man, said to me, "Do you think there's a civil suit here? Could we sue this guy for damages?" Being a victim is very, very costly. You'd be surprised. I had no idea. You got to clean up the house. You got to fix up the house at your own dime, and you had to pay for an attorney on your own dime to protect your rights. And that kind of help is not available. So a lot of people stay in a victim impassivity because they don't have the money to get out of it. At any rate, he asked if there's a civil suit, and we went to the corporate law offices in downtown Atlanta, and to make a long story short, there was not any case. The man who attacked Mary was indigent, and he lived with his parents. They were older. They were not financially responsible legally for him, and so there's nothing. But I only did it because I didn't want Mary to think that I didn't turn every stone over. But I remember since all our money was in the house, and since the house was depreciating, as quick as we could look out the window, it was depreciating. You could see it go down. The lawyer said something to me, a lawyer, not our friend, another lawyer said something to me as we're getting in the elevator. He said to me, "Mr. Porter, I'm so sorry we couldn't help you today. And I worry so much about you and Mrs. Porter. You're going to have trouble selling that house. Nobody is going to buy a house next to a killer." That's what he said. And I got in the elevator with Mary, and I remember sitting down on the floor. She thought I was having a heart attack, and I frightened her terribly. John. I said, no, I'm okay. But I had hit the bottom. Because remember I told you that when we suffer trauma, we make a negative assessment of ourselves, a negative comment. And my negative comment was, I cannot protect myself, my loved ones, and I am vulnerable, and I am exposed. And that's what we called the victim's advocate at DeKalb County, because she had told us to get post traumatic stress counseling. And I didn't think it was needed until then. And it was a fabulous experience. It really was, because she got us to take the trauma from the emotional part of the brain and pull it to the intellectual side of the brain where you can rationally solve it or reflect on it. Oh yeah, it was wonderful. And she did it with a kind of a funny little deal. She had a matrix board with flashing lights and headphones on. She just sat there and you had headphones on, and you saw these lights and you followed it with your eyes. Really, that was that hokey, you know? And after every episode, she'd turn it off. You'd take the headphones off, and she'd say, "What's your negative comment?" And as I did it over the time, and Mary did her own in her own session, so she could tell you what hers was. But mine began to develop some strength. I went from, "I can never sell that house," to, "the lawyer doesn't know everything," to, "I'll sell the house." And she would she would tell me, "Do you see how you are beginning to make some progress?" And I could. I said, "Yes, I can. Yes, I can." And she said, "Well, keep going." And I said, "Well, another session, it went from I can sell the house to if I can't sell the house, I'll sell it to Mercer University, and we'll have a fraternity house, and they can throw beer cans all over the frickin' neighborhood and see how they like it then, you know." Then the last one was, "I gonna form a brothel and a whorehouse." And I remember saying this to her, and she was looking at me, and then when it was over, she started laughing, and I started laughing. We started just rolling. How dumb that was, how silly that was, and she stopped. And her face went serious, and she said, "You're done with this. You're done with this. You've overcome it." And it was true. It was true. If it comes back, anxiety and apprehension comes back, it's something else. But you're over it. You're over it. And those are great events. We'll never solve our problem by freezing, but we may not solve our problems by fleeing. We may not solve our problems by fighting, but there's a way to overcome it, and that is to replace the negativities with positive. And you do that basically through friends and through family and through the events and the characters in your life which give you joy. Well, I'll see you next week, but pick up a handy bottle of Mary Porter's all-purpose peach tree chutney. Until then, chutneying along.